Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do a comparison between two tanning slash contouring products. On the one hand, we have the Huda Beauty Tantour, and on the other from Chanel, we have the Soleil de Chanel. So if you want to see how these two compare to each other, just keep watching. First things first, let's talk about the Chanel product. Again, this is the Soleil Tan de Chanel. They call it a bronzing makeup base, and it comes in a universal shade. I would argue that this is very much not a universal shade. It is quite light, and I think if you're anything above a medium skin tone, this is not going to show up on you. It does cost $60 Canadian. There are 30 grams of product in there, and the packaging is just so sleek and beautiful. When you open it up, there is a little cover here, presumably to help keep it from drying out. And there is the product inside. It is very much a cream type product. I just pick it up with my finger or a brush, apply it where I want it on my face, and then blend it out from there. It has the most delightful scent. Like, it's very, very light, but it smells like high-end skincare. There's a little bit of like a floral essence going in there. Nothing overwhelming. I can't even smell it like when it's this close to my face. My nose literally has to be in it, but it smells so nice. Just kind of adds to the experience. Moving on from there, let's take a look at the Huda Beauty product. So this is fairly new to their line, launched probably about 2 weeks ago now, I imagine. It runs $38 Canadian on the Sephora website, and for that you get 11 grams. So price per gram, the Chanel is actually doing better than the Huda Beauty product. Packaging, again, very sleek. I actually quite like that it is square. It just makes it easier to store. The lid just spins off, and again, you have that little cover over the product itself. Inside is the little well of product. You can see that I have used this a few times and I've kind of dug into it a little bit. This one does not have an enticing scent. It doesn't really have much of a scent. It smells a little bit like old Play-Doh. Not bad, it's not strong, but it's nowhere near as pretty as the Chanel, I will say that. Again, same kind of idea. It's a cream product meant to bronze and contour the face. You apply it, blend it out, life moves on. So Huda Beauty markets this one as a bronzer and contour cream. For me, I typically don't find that I can contour with the same shade that I bronze with, and because of the tone of this one, I find overall that this one is more appropriate for contouring on my skin tone than, say, the Chanel one is. The Chanel is very good for bronzing. The only other point to make about this product is that it is available in 5 shades. I have the lightest one, which is called Fair. According to the Sephora website, that is for fair to light complexions, and it has cool undertones. The other 4 shades in the range are also described as having cool undertones. So again, for me, this is more of a contouring product than it is bronzing, but that is going to come down to personal preference. So let's do a little side-by-side comparison of the shades. So there is a comparison of the 2 shades. So on the top is the Chanel, on the bottom is the Huda Beauty. Both of them feel very, very similar when you pick them up out of the pan. Both of them are equally creamy, and you can see that they apply quite nicely on the hand there. If I am to blend them out, just have to find a brush. You can see even that darker one does blend very nicely, as does the Chanel product. I'm not pressing particularly hard, just moving it back and forth and really spreading that product out. But you can see Chanel is very much of a warmer based product, whereas the Huda Beauty is much more cool toned. So for today's purposes, what I'm going to do is just use both of them on my face so that you can see how they work together. I'm going to contour with Huda and bronze with the Chanel. Let's do this. For my own personal preferences with the Huda Beauty, I don't like going in with the brush just because it is a deeper tone for me. I go in with a much smaller brush and then blend out with another one. Again, you can also just use your finger, but I'm being fancy. So I'm going to use an Urban Decay brush called the Finger and just pick up some of that product and just place it around my face where I'm going to want it. To blend all that out, I'm going to use one of the 420 brushes from Beautylish. None of them have individual names on them, but you can see that this one is designed for contouring. So I'm just going to use that to blend the product out. I will say that one of the things I really like about this product is that it doesn't dry too quickly. So even though I've got it dotted all around my face, by the time I get to the last area, it hasn't locked down. So there is a lot of room for blending. You don't have to rush right through it or only work on one area at a time before applying more product. I suppose I should have mentioned at the beginning that I do have foundation and concealer on. I don't have any setting powder on my face, although I did set underneath my eyes. I have a cream blush and a cream highlight on. Don't have any eyeshadow because I'm going to be filming a separate video with the eyeshadow, so I'm just trying to be as efficient as possible. I'm having a very, very late start to my day today because Bennett, my charming, adorable, wonderful 2-year-old, 2 nights in a row now has woken up at midnight and refused to go back to sleep all night. Like literally all night. Not like until 4 in the morning and then he finally crashed. Like 8:30 a.m. when we dropped him off at daycare, he was still wide awake from midnight. So that means that I was wide awake from midnight. Which, had I gone to bed at like, 9 o'clock at night, probably wouldn't have been as big of a deal, but I went to bed at like 11:45. There is a reason that sleep deprivation is a form of torture. Alright, so that is about as blended as it's going to get. I could go in and add a bit more if I really wanted to, but I am quite happy with the way that it looks now. It still defines my face without looking harsh, so I'm going to move on to the bronzer. So for the bronzer, because it is a lighter shade and because it's going to cover a larger area of my face, I am just going to go in with my blending brush rather than use the smaller, more precise brush and apply it that way. So I just swirl my brush in there, pick up the product, and then get to blending. And I like using this one across the forehead and then towards the tops of the cheeks as well. Oh my god, it smells so good. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. Yet again, it's another very easily blendable product, which I quite appreciate. There's nothing worse than using like cream, especially cream contour, because they tend to be darker, where they like instantly lock into place and you just can't blend that initial line of application out. It's so frustrating. I'm just going to ignore this spot on my face here. I got a little aggressive with that like milia spot that I've had for like 2 years, and I finally won. I was victorious, but now I have like an open wound on my face that needs to heal, so just ignore that. Also ignore the gray. I'm a disaster right now. I have not had time to dye my hair. I need to make time because Mama needs it. So there are both products blended out. Again, that bronzer is very light. For frame of reference, I am an NC20, so I'm kind of on the lighter side with a little bit of golden undertones, but you can see that it's not a stark contrast. So I think if you were much deeper than what my skin tone is, it's not going to show up. It's really not going to do an awful lot. However, if you are a bit more fair than me, it's also not going to be an overwhelming product. However, for Chanel to call it universal kind of speaks to what they think their demographic is, if you ask me. With the Huda Beauty, it is very much deeper than the Chanel product, but again, it's not super obvious on the skin. So while I think if you have lighter skin than me, you may want to swatch it first before buying it, say online, but go in with a very light hand and you should be okay. It does blend out very nicely, but I am quite glad that they have 5 shades in the range, and it does seem to cover a very inclusive shade range. In terms of how they feel on the skin, there is a little bit of tackiness, but I don't know that I can fully credit that to the products. Sorry, I'm just feeling them on the back of my hand as well, and there's not as much stickiness on my hand as there is on my face. So keep in mind that I do have an unset foundation on my face, which could be adding to that stickiness. But even at that, like it's not sticky. There's just a little bit of tackiness. When I pull my fingers away, I can like hear that sort of kissing noise. But once I put a powder on top, totally fine. From having worn both of these products before a number of times, I can say that they do last very well throughout the day. It doesn't become spotty or patchy. The product doesn't like seemingly disappear over the course of time. I don't know that you're gonna get like a full like 12 to 16 hours out of it, but for a work day, no problem whatsoever. Overall, I can't really pick one over the other. They both perform equally well, but they both do different things. Like I said, Chanel is a more warmer based product, so I think it would be really good for bronzing, but it's not going to bring as much to the table for contouring. Whereas the Huda Beauty is quite cool toned. They say that it's good for tanning and bronzing, perhaps depending on your individual skin tones. For mine, it doesn't really work as a bronzer. It's just a little bit too cool toned. It's not ashy by any stretch, but it doesn't have that element of warmth that I think of when I think of bronzer, especially as we're moving into the warmer weather. So I don't really have a strong recommendation in terms of one over the other. I think with the Chanel, you're getting a better price point overall if you're looking at price per ounce. But that being said, it's still $60. So perhaps the $30 price tag or the $38 price tag makes this one a little bit more attractive. Also, again, it's going to come down to your own skin tones and what it is that each one can do for you. If you're above a medium, this product is not going to show up on you, unfortunately. I really wish that they at least had a deeper option so that there was two to choose from. This one, you can find pretty much any shade to work with you. Alright guys, so there you have it. I hope that this was helpful. If you do have any questions on either product, feel free to leave it down below and I will do my best to answer. And thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I will see you in my next video, and until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.